if Green Bay loses today, do you think they'll miss the playoffs? And this one's for you, Stephen A.
I think they would if they lose today, and I believe they would lose today. And Skip, obviously Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. But with him out, obviously they lost 3 straight, and they had a tie last week against Minnesota. I thought they were going to beat Minnesota anyway because I pondered the thought of Minnesota being able to beat them. But somehow, some way, they were able to get it done. And now you have a situation where you're going into Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, who are in the midst of a 2-game losing streak. I can't see them losing 3 straight, not to mention the fact that you've got Matt Flynn at quarterback, or even if it's Tolzien, even though it's going to be Matt Flynn, Tolzien, whomever, it doesn't matter. It ain't Aaron Rodgers. And so because of that, I see you losing another game, and I think the tie ultimately comes back to haunt you. Now, whether it's against Chicago or against Detroit, I'm unsure. But clearly that tie is going to hurt you more than anything else. If you had beaten Minnesota last week, then that would be different. But the fact that you didn't, because even if you lost this game, I still think that Aaron Rodgers could come back and deliver the goods for you. But having a tie in the midst of the 3 previous losses that you had, combined with losing today, which I believe will happen, I think puts them in a hole that they can't get out of even when Aaron Rodgers comes back, because I think Aaron Rodgers will come back, they'd win probably 3 of their last 4. But that would still put you at what? 8-7-1? I don't see that being winning the division.
So, if Green Bay doesn't win the division, gut feeling, who does win it?
Detroit. I think it's going to be Detroit. I'm not sold on Chicago. I think that Chicago basically sold its proverbial soul. And what I mean by that is that the success of the Chicago Bears have been predicated on defense. Lovie Smith in all of those years, even though he only went to the playoffs like 3 times in 9 years, took them to a Super Bowl, their defense was consistently formidable. You threw all of that away to bring in Trestman and to buffer that offense. The offense is impressive. We understand that, okay? Especially when Cutler comes back with Marshall and Jeffries and these boys. But the bottom line is the defense has been so suspect. It's hard to recognize them. They make turnovers. They force turnovers. But still in all, they've been an incredible disappointment. And if I had to give the edge to anybody, it would be the sporadic playing of the Detroit Lions. I think with Megatron and Stafford, with Bush, I think they'll find a way to squeeze out the division crown in this sequence.
I agree with you. But I remind you, we are both on a slippery slope with the Detroit Lions, because this question, Stephen A. Smith, reminds me of the opening question we dealt with on this show about my Dallas Cowboys. To me, the Lions are becoming the Cowboys of the NFC North. And I think these divisions are a lot alike. It's all by default. It's almost like both divisions should be closed for repair. And the 2 teams that annually play on Thanksgiving, both cities beginning with the letter D, as in Detroit, then Dallas. D often as in dog, because both these teams can have some dog in them. And I mean that in a not so good way, as in Alpo dog. You can't trust either the Cowboys or the Lions. Though I think I trust the Lions in this division a little more than I trust the Cowboys in the NFC East. Because, Stephen A., I'm going to remind you, 2 years ago, when Detroit went to Dallas, remember, and they came back from, 27-3 down and won the game? They went on that year to finish 10-6, and Matt Stafford that year threw 41 touchdowns to only 16 interceptions. I'm not saying they're having that kind of year this year, but they have by far the easiest closing schedule. So if, as we both believe, they take care of Green Bay at home today, that boosts them to 7-5. And then down the stretch, they do have to go to Philly, a little dicey, 50-50 game. They won there last year. They come back home and they've got Baltimore and your Giants. Can they win those games? I think so. And then they finish at Minnesota. Not easy, division rivalry. Minnesota can be pretty good at home, dangerous. But I think Detroit wins that game. So I'm right with you. They finish 10-6. And the Packers, we don't know whether Aaron Rodgers is going to come back or not. How long will he last? He said he could have played today, that he feels well enough to play today. Doctors aren't sure if he starts taking licks how long the broken bone will last. So if he comes back and plays at his usual level, I could see Green Bay finishing 9-6-1. So the tie that you brought up, would doom Green Bay in the division. And I don't see a wild card coming out of this division, obviously. So you're going to have to win the division to make the playoffs. And I think that Ted Thompson not providing his team a viable, trustworthy backup quarterback, Seneca Wallace, Tolzien, now what goes around came back around Matt Flynn. No Vince Young, obviously. I was a proponent of that. I think that will cost Green Bay their playoff shot this year.
I think that what it comes down to is that the Green Bay Packers have to win today or their season is over. That's the bottom line. That's what we're saying. They got to win today.